Hello and welcome to Stella Consulting's pitch to provide Montrose with a solution to connect students, schools and therapists together to ensure Montrose can provide their services and support diverse and inclusive education. The team at Stella Consulting have worked together to create the three-prong approach, which provides a solution to Montrose's issue and meets the brief. The team includes strategy analyst Nickson Liang, marketing specialist Gibson, business analyst Henry Burford, human resources consultant Eliza Hansen, and finance consultant James Schofield. For Montrose to achieve their aim of connecting students, schools, and therapists together to ensure students are supported as best as possible, they must successfully connect with the school. The issue is identified within the organisation's current approach to gaining entry into the schools and ongoing monitoring and development of the services and programs provided to the students. Montrose has asked us to develop an engagement model which provides a better approach to gaining entry into schools, connects with all stakeholders, and helps plan an approach to supporting and monitoring the students' engagement and progress in their learning goals. Through the introduction of an engagement model, Montrose can continue to implement education initiatives which enable better outcomes and support diversity and inclusion for people with disabilities. The main issue for Montrose can be identified within their current approach to connecting with schools and a lack of planning for ongoing monitoring and learning and disability support services required for school children. This leads to a limited network of schools and stakeholders, lack of project structure, and additional staff and budgeting costs. Montrose requires an effective approach to building relationships with schools, a plan to continually develop and maintain stakeholder relationships, and an efficient approach to organising and planning appropriate levels of ongoing learning and disability support services. The solution also needs to consider that Montrose services require ongoing support and monitoring, and each school and student require a different structure and approach. Implementing inclusive and diverse education initiatives will help provide a better quality education for all children and assist in changing the discriminatory attitudes associated with inclusive education. The solution for Montrose directly aligns with the United Nations Sustainability Development Goal of quality education, ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities to all students. The team at Stella Consulting have worked to create a three-prong approach that highlights the importance of Montrose's mission to support children with a disability and their families to maximise their abilities, achieve their goals, and live the lives they choose. The solution will develop Montrose's network with schools and other stakeholders, assist the organisation in developing their project structure, and align with Montrose's mission. I will now pass on to Julia to explain how the three-prong approach works.
Thank you, Eliza. In line with Sinek's How aspect of the Golden Circle, the proposed engagement plan for Montrose utilises a three-prong approach which works by coordinating all relevant stakeholders. Now, in this case, this includes Montrose and its organisers, therapists, volunteers, schools, teachers, parents, and of course, students. Now, in devising this approach, Stella identified 4 significant factors that our engagement plan needed to adequately meet as outlined in this affinity plan. These include finances, efficiency, ethics, and sustainability. And it was the consideration of these factors that ultimately saw the creation of our three-prong approach. Now, this approach utilises 3 progressive stages aimed at rolling out an effective project. Firstly, we have awareness, followed by an implementation stage, and finally, a moderation stage. Now, to bring these stages into action, the following steps would need to be taken. Firstly, getting in touch with schools to spread awareness and to proposition them. Secondly, communicating and implementing plans with therapists, volunteers, teachers, parents, and students, and any other relevant stakeholders. And thirdly, monitoring effectiveness through tracking project engagement and performance. Now, the principles of the three-prong approach would likely see the following positive outcomes as outlined in this hypothesis tree and as backed by research. Project management theory from the Project Management Institute supports this solution relative to the 3 stages, as it encourages a logical and balanced approach to project undertakings. These projects also have demonstrated success in the healthcare industry, where, according to Loudon, such project management principles have enabled successful therapy programs and results for patients. And therefore, this demonstrates real-world success. So, if implemented effectively, Montrose's engagement plan through the three-prong approach will likely see greater cohesion and synergy between stakeholders and better support the outcomes for students who need it most. This will also bring Montrose closer to achieving its goal of ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all, helping Montrose to ultimately fulfill the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. I'll now pass on to James, who will be covering the what element of Sinek's Golden Circle.
Thanks, Julia. What our three-prong approach will do is facilitate the engagement with all relevant stakeholders to coordinate supportive measures to ensure the active involvement of students with a disability in their schooling careers. This provides the opportunity for students of diversity to experience an education and overall schooling involvement that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to completely fulfill. This will be achieved by actioning the approach in the following way. Firstly, by creating the awareness required, we can understand from our end what schools are in need of support based on the feedback. This communication channel provides the opportunity to express to the schooling network the support we can provide to ensure quality learning for a diverse cohort. Secondly, after we've established these channels, the broader community of a specific school becomes available for ongoing contact. After identifying which individuals are best suited for our support, teachers, families, and students are then provided with specific details on how we believe our support can be tailored and effective to their case. We are emphasizing our support and how we can best integrate with schools and their communities. Finally, after implementing our support, we aim to always optimize our level of effectiveness through monitoring the engagement and overall performance of students. We attain this by measuring the improvements of students irrespective of their peers and a strong focus on their personal improvements. I will now discuss our core value proposition. Our solution has utilized the SDGs in line with Montrose's ambition to deliver quality education and good health and well-being to students with a disability. The solution leverages Montrose's recognition of the need for school support services to adapt in response to the needs of students. This should be done in an innovative and collaborative way that encourages ongoing support for students and the broader adoption of these services. Additionally, the solution considers cost, quality, and optimization of services to integrate our support as feasibly as possible, given the available resources of stakeholders. Considering that Montrose's challenge is facing entry to schools and then providing their services to students in a seamless and effective delivery, our solution focuses on establishing communication channels with the schooling network and providing awareness on how our services can be integrated in an undisruptive way to ensure the active involvement in their schooling lives. We have used Sinek's Golden Circle in our hypothesis tree to aid the problem-solving aspect of this challenge, ensuring the solution is centered around the values of Montrose whilst aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Goals. I will now pass it on to Nickson.
Thank you, James. So firstly, I'll be discussing about the user stories. The user story is divided into 2 components. First is the user story itself, which describes what is desired by the different personas or stakeholders. And the other component is acceptance criteria, which illustrate how each solution will benefit the different stakeholders. As you can see in the table below, we have identified 4 stakeholders that are relevant to Montrose. First are students, second are teachers, third principal or school admin, and fourth are parents or guardian. Here, as a student, they want to learn in a way that they can understand so that they can achieve a better learning outcome. As for teachers, they want to teach students in a seamless way so that they can provide a proper learning experience. School administration or principal aim to provide the best outcome for students so that they can assure parents of quality education. Parents or guardian want to make sure that the school is helping their child's development so that they won't have to worry about their child's being left out. Moving on to acceptance criteria. The acceptance criteria, as mentioned earlier, it will describe how our solution will benefit each stakeholder. For example, students. Often disabled students demonstrate delays in their social development. By having plans discussed with teachers and parents, it will help the school to integrate support measures. Moving on to teachers who sometimes face challenges when delivering lessons in a way that everyone can understand. Through careful planning and monitoring, it will help provide insights for teachers to make adjustments accordingly. School administration or principal often lack understanding of external services, and it might be hard for a third party such as Montrose to gain entry to schools. By getting in touch with schools and propositioning plans with them, it will help build awareness of the service as well as the system. Next are the parents or guardian. Often they are worried about how their child will perform in class. With effectiveness is monitored, parents will be less anxious. Now, moving on to the cost structure of this plan, much of Montrose's fixed and variable expenses can be observed in this table. However, it is important to note that many of the fixed costs that are required in order to execute the three-prong approach are indirect costs, as they are already a standard part of Montrose's regular operating expenses. For example, while staff healthcare and training protocol is necessary for staff, Montrose staff are already well equipped with the required skills, which naturally comes with being an employee with Montrose during initial onboarding. So if then we look specifically at the cost of implementing the three-prong approach across 100 Queensland schools, we can expect to incur a minimal cost of about $14,000. For example, promotional materials, including letters, booklets, and flyers. However, it again needs to be acknowledged that the majority of costs will come under human capital or payroll costs, as many of the activities are service-based, and therefore these costs are already incorporated into the Montrose current budget. Furthermore, much of Montrose activities are subsidized by the NDIS and other government funding schemes which support keeping costs down. This ultimately makes this approach highly feasible from a cost perspective in using resourceful methods to execute the plan. Now, I'll pass on over to Henry, who will further discuss the feasibility of Stella's solution.
Thank you, Nickson. An important aspect of the solution that is often overlooked is the goals of the steps and their significance. Essentially, it is what we are trying to achieve at each stage of the solution. The three stages each represent the gradual implementation of the solution at a school-wide level. These steps are the initial arrangement of the schools, implementation of the program, and continued support for the schools involved. Breaking each of these down, we can say that during the arrangement phase, we want to help prepare schools for the upcoming organizational reshuffle that will inevitably interrupt their usual schedule. This type of specialized program is bound to have these types of growth issues when they begin, and disruption is a side effect that is expected when working with a school following standardized teaching procedures. This also acts as a first point of contact to enable employees to understand the initial arrangement teachers may have and the environment that they may be working with, helping to alter the plan to suit these arrangements. Within the implementation stage, we want to put the solution into action and allow for the disruptions to occur and any issues to arise, which will inevitably be met within the support phase. This also acts as an opportunity for Montrose to take in any observable difficulties and to refine the program for future rollouts. This will enable a continually improved and different program to the last, giving that progression looked for within modern business models. The support phase will provide a structure for which feedback can be relayed. This enables quality control and that any issues can receive a professional opinion. This helps to ensure more long-term success for the program and enables a structure of support for those implementing this new solution. What this shows is that overall the solution can change, but the plan and the significance of the steps involved will ultimately be the same for interactions between Montrose and schools, ultimately enabling a structure that is both dynamic and disciplined. To conclude, the most important part of any solution to a complex problem is its feasibility in the real world. When looking at the feasibility of a solution like the three-pronged approach, it is important to look at the costs associated with it, as well as any factors helping to ease implementation. The costs of the solution are minimal, especially when in the initial stages of the solution, these being mainly human capital and time for both students and teachers alike to implement the solution at a full capacity. Of course, when the solution moves past the initial stages, the costs do increase to a point and then stabilize as the solution becomes common practice within the classroom. One aspect that eases the implementation of the program is the NDIS support packages available, particularly being eligible for the Education Systems Fund, which will greatly help implementation. However, one of the key factors when assessing the feasibility of a solution is real-world data, and as we have discussed previously, the use of the three-pronged approach in the healthcare industry helps to bolster the idea of the feasibility of the solution, as well as its potential efficiency within the support services industry. Considering all these factors, it is our great recommendation that we believe the three-pronged approach can help businesses, and that it has been proven to be a more than successful solution to the continual important interaction between special needs children and their specialists. Thank you for listening.